Funds that win are investors that are able to make consistent returns on a risk-adjusted basis. When you're starting a fund, you need to look at, hey, what's the opportunity set you have in front of you, and what is your skill set? That's all investing really is at the end of the day, right? Is making asymmetrical investments where you're mitigating your downside exposure and increasing your upside return. You can have a 15, 20 person team managing $1 billion. Today, we're going to be talking about GP stakes, a unique, incredible asset class that cash flows from day one. That's extremely long-term capital, and I think is arguably the best way to invest in private markets because you get to participate in both management fee revenue, performance income, and long-term appreciation in the alternative asset class. So excited to dive into GP stakes and why it makes for a truly compelling investment strategy. My name is Lincoln Archibald, and this is Alt Street. So I'm from actually from a small town, Shelley, Idaho. Whatever you envision your stereotypical Idahoan, I was probably that. I worked on a potato farm from the ages of 10 years old all the way till I graduated high school. A mentor told me that the best thing you can do is when you're trying to figure out what you want to do in life is just go do it. You know, and I thought marketing sounded interesting. So I got this role on, it was called Business Council, my freshman year at college, and I was the marketing chair. And, you know, then I was tasked, we had these things called Focus Fridays every Friday where they were just events. And my job was to get butts in seats, right? As the marketer. And I was like, this is a terrible job. I hate this, right? Like I hate, you know, trying to go to communicate to people and whatnot. So it was actually, it was my first investments class that really, I was like, okay, this is really cool. And that's kind of what kicked off, you know, my interest in finance. We started this education company about 4 years ago, and it was originally an education and consulting business. And it's in a lot of ways it's primarily a marketing business. Like that's what we're really good at. It's an e-learning platform. Like the product's pretty simple. You know, it's education. And, you know, the biggest element of that is actually selling that product. So I feel like I've been fortunate enough to, you know, learn more than the average person about marketing and different marketing approaches. And it certainly applies to fundraising and communicating your offer and, you know, going out as you're meeting with potential limited partners, communicating your message succinctly. You know, there's a lot of really good financiers out there that are really good in spreadsheets, and there's a lot of really good salespeople out there, but there's not a ton of people that know how to do both. And I remember I had a mentor of mine that said, hey, look, if you can figure out both of those skills, I mean, you can go anywhere, you know, with a sharp fiscal mind and the ability to talk to people. To communicate succinctly, I think it really just comes with practice. You know, everyone has different personalities, and I think it's about just communicating directly. I'm an extremely blunt person. If you talk to any of my colleagues or coworkers, I read a book in college called Radical Candor, which just basically talks about, hey, just say it how it is, right? Don't sugarcoat it. Just be straight up. And most of the time it's going to work out for the better. And I guess I really adopted that principle and applied it to my life. And I just always say what's on my mind. Sure, I offend people. You know, I certainly do. And some people think I'm a jerk. I try not to be. I just try to be as an effective of communicator as possible. Learning business lingo is certainly similar to learning a foreign language, right? You're not going to be able to get your message across. You're not going to be able to communicate with the right people, and you're not going to have the right result in your conversations if you're not able to speak the language of business, and more so the language of funds, right? That's one of the first things we encourage emerging managers to do is, hey, you're not going out and you're not buying real estate. You're acquiring real estate, and you're not selling real estate. You don't have a team that sells real estate. You have a dispositions team, right? And so they're not investors. They're limited partners, right? And there's all these terms, and there's an entire dictionary you could probably put together on funds and alternative assets and finance. Yeah, it's imperative that you learn the proper language, especially before you go out and do it. And I think you could learn that language in two different ways. On somebody else's dime, you can get a corporate job and you can work in that industry for 10, 20 years. And sure, I think you're going to learn that language. But I think there's a quicker route to learning that language, and that's honestly just by doing it, right? By going out, utilizing YouTube University to its finest, and going and trying to get your first deal done. And I think that's going to force your hand to understand the industry, arguably probably a lot better than those that have worked in a small aspect of industry for a number of years, just by immersing yourself into an ecosystem.